Hello, beautiful teacher, and welcome to the Perinatal Pilates Impactful Teaching Camp. During these 3 days together, you are going to find out what Pilates teachers are doing differently to confidently teach pre- and postnatal women, perinatal women, with competence so that you can make a bigger contribution to this world through your teaching. The one thing I ask is after each day, you take one of the things that you learned and implement it within the next 24 hours into your next session so that you can practice these skills, because there's no point in learning something if you're not practicing and applying. And the person you practice with does not have to be perinatal. Tell all my students, if you want to learn a skill, the confidence and the competence comes from actually applying it. You can't learn to swim by reading a book. Same thing with teaching pre and postnatal. My name is Alison Marsh. I'm the founder of Pregnancy Pilates Impact. Enjoy these 3 days, soak it up, get what you can, and I will see you in the training. This quote, how wonderful it is that nobody needs to wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. And let me put a little more light here. And that is Anne Frank. If you don't know who do you know who Anne Frank is? You guys, I truly believe that you, as a educated, compassionate pre and postnatal teacher, can start to change the world. As cliche as that is, every one of you has the opportunity to give something that is unique of yourself to the women that are in your circle, and be able to catapult not only making their lives better, but obviously it's a ripple effect, which I'm going to show you a little bit later, that occurs when you share your positive, compassionate, educated approach. So that is what I base all of my work on. So you're about to learn very powerful information. This is designed to spark your excitement for teaching, build genuine confidence, not cockiness, which is not confidence in yourself, and propel you towards an exciting shift in your career. So we're going to start with this. Who can relate to this? Being overprotective and underprepared, right? Like it's always about like, don't do this, don't do that. And you have to protect that pregnant woman because she's super fragile. And I've totally been there. So that's why I know. That's why I know this. And I've been working with hundreds of Pilates teachers as well. So, okay. And this is where you want to get to, where you're calm and prepared, and you can go by the do list. And you know that women are actually incredibly resilient during this time, and they don't need to be protected as much as you may think. So over the next 3 days, we'll go over why we tend to be overprotective and underprepared, something that you probably haven't found yet, and how you can move into feeling calm and prepared, aka confident. Okay, this training is for you if you can relate to one or more of the following scenarios. You've been counting on the page or two of limited guidelines that your comprehensive training program provided. You've taken a pre and postnatal training, but you were left feeling like you needed something more. You are overly focused on the contraindications and strict trimester guidelines, like don't lay on your back after the first trimester and don't do flexion exercises. You believe that OBGYNs are more knowledgeable about exercise than you are. And you have a desire to support pre and postnatal women beyond just teaching them Pilates exercises. So this training is for you if you can relate to one or more of these. So that is, again, like the don't list. Okay, this training is not for you if you're not open to new ideas on how to approach teaching. You have no desire to improve the lives of pre and postnatal women. You don't want to raise your confidence in teaching. And you're offended when an educator gives you 3 days of quality training for free and then shares how you can continue working together in a paid training. So I usually attract very positive, compassionate people, but there's always that person out there that kind of rolls their eyes when you have a free training, and then at the end of the training, the teacher introduces their program. What I want you to understand about this 3 days together is this is not a promotion for my program. This is a training for you to be able to take back to what you're doing in your current Pilates practice. And if then you feel like you need more or want more, then the paid program is where you would go. Okay, so that is that disclaimer. Okay, so by the end of this training, you will have the tools you need to begin shifting from questioning your purpose for teaching to reigniting your purpose for teaching, going from self-doubting to confidently teaching all populations, including pre and postnatal. That's the one thing I love about pre and postnatal is it's so helpful for all populations. And then you'll begin shifting from teaching cookie cutter modified Pilates exercises to pre and postnatal clients to actually empowering women to change their life. Okay, Joseph Pilates wrote his original book is called Return to Life. And I think sometimes in my experience with education, educators tend to get away from that. It starts to become about the perfectly executed exercise versus what we're really doing, which is, yes, we're teaching Pilates, but the whole point is obviously to uplift people in their lives. And so if you get anything out of this, that's the one thing I want you to get out of this is that there's so many tools you can use. You could keep teaching exactly what you're teaching and keep doing the cookie cutter Pilates exercises. As long as you can incorporate this sense of you're actually changing these women's lives, it's a game changer. And you will never have an open spot in your sessions, in your calendar. Like you'll have waiting lists, okay? Because you go beyond just the exercises. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of movement to get started. So what this does, just a little fact about what we're about to do, anytime you have an open posture, this is actually research-based, it increases feelings of confidence and courage, okay? You may be familiar with power posing, okay? And in this, I'm going to show you what I call the blooming flower with a rib wriggle. And know that this is not only safe, but highly effective for both pregnant, all trimesters, and postpartum clients, okay? So I'm gonna stop sharing for just a moment. And let's see, how do I spotlight? Hide self view.
I have you as a spotlight.
Hey, there we go. Oh, you do anyway. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so here we go. If you can stand up where you're at, make sure you can see me. Okay, so ideally you want to do this standing, but you can also tell women if they sit in a chair, let's say like for work, they can do this sitting. So this is what you want to do essentially. I love doing this at the beginning of sessions and or at the end of sessions, okay? So it incorporates scapular movement. And we start with, it's called the blooming flower, and we've got two variations. Blooming flower 1 goes like this. You're gonna hug, yourself, and you make sure you remember which elbow you have over first, okay? The idea is you're going to try to reach those shoulders, so you're the shoulder blades, so you're opening up the back, okay? So you're opening, having this protraction in the shoulder blades. Then we roll the shoulder blades up like you're going to take off a shirt. This is elevation. And then this is where you're going to start this little, what I call a rib wriggle, okay? Where it's just these little tiny micro movements up as you reach the arms all the way up. Once you get to the top, you're going to activate the latissimus dorsi muscles into the glutes, okay? By dropping the shoulder blades. And I did, again, a little wriggle, okay? What that does, and you can even, if people can't let go like that, you can just have them kind of shift to feel those lats, and you bloom the flower down, take little tiny bounces. So this is where my arms are. And the objective is to be able to feel the lats. The lats are, the lats become the foundation of the back core, or I should just say of the core during pregnancy, because as the belly expands, mom is going to lose the full ability to use her abdominals. So she's got to have a backup, and the backup is going to be it's really the back functional core, which includes the lats and the glutes. Okay, so that is blooming flower 1. We're going to do it again. Change the elbow or arm you had over first, reaching to the shoulder blades. We're having protraction. You can feel that the abdominals might want to contract. Let them do that. Go ahead and lift up, little rib wriggle, reaching, and then floating down, blooming flower, feeling those lats. That's blooming flower 1. Blooming flower 2, we take the hands behind the head. Now we've got a nice open position with the shoulders, okay? You can take little movements like this to start. Then shoulders reach to the ears, arms reach back up. This time we're going to reach up rather than going side to side. It's still kind of like side to side. We're just reaching up. Then we're going to let the elbows fall down. Again, little bounces to feel those lats. Then we can add on little bounces in the knees to allow the glutes to take over, okay? So little bounces in the knees. Now, I always tell moms that if they can't feel their glutes, tell them to touch the glutes. And if they're embarrassed about doing that, have them wear pants with pockets, then they can just put their hands in their pockets. Nobody has to know that they're actually trying to feel their glutes. So what you're doing is pressing the heel into the floor to allow them to feel their glutes. And if you're doing Pilates with them, and especially if you're doing reformer work, they're already going to have an idea or a feeling of those glutes. But one of the biggest problems with low back pain is that women are not using their glutes. They're dumping all the weight back here. And so they want to have those nice glutes to help support them. Okay, so that was blooming flower 2. We'll do it again. Again, it's hands behind the head. Okay, you don't have to interlace. You can, doesn't really matter. The idea is that you're opening up here. Okay, take little movements through here. Think of like little figure eights or boomerang, or no, not boomerang. No, not boomerang. Maybe it is figure eights. Infinity, both work. And you're going to lift the shoulders to the ears, reach all the way up. It's kind of like that when you wake up first thing in the morning and you're stretching. That's called pandiculation. You want to encourage moms to do that as much as you can, you as well. And then you take the little bounces, and then you can add the little glute bounces so they feel those glutes. And that is the blooming flower. I do this all the time for myself. One of the things that, one of the myths I've heard is don't put your arms over your head during pregnancy. My sister-in-law said that when I was telling her to do gentle hanging, which you'll learn. She's like, well, mom, my mom said that putting my hands over my head, I shouldn't do that during pregnancy. It's crazy. Like the way we're going to learn all about this today, by the way, like where all of these ideas come from. But the idea with that is that if you do it too quickly and you leave your arms up there, sometimes it can cause lightheadedness. Okay. If that's the case, if mom does have lightheadedness, you're going to do one at a time. But the benefits are you want to be able to have full range of motion, okay, to be able to have the healthiest shoulders. And the second benefit is carpal tunnel. Okay, women get carpal tunnel. They actually get it because of the swelling, okay, that happens in pregnancy. And so what this can do, again, I'll teach you gentle hanging, but what this can do, just arms above the head, is it helps to get the fluid flowing, blood flow down the arms. We're bringing the wrists above the heart. So I'm sure you've heard anytime you have like a sprain or something, you bring that limb above the heart. Same idea, is that you're reducing that swelling. So that's blooming flower, something I do it every time, either in the beginning or in the end or in the end of a session. And I encourage moms to do it as often as they can. Okay, so, okay, let's go ahead and get back to our presentation. All right, so confident teaching is the difference between always having that little gnawing seed of doubt in the back of your mind, wondering, I hope what I'm doing is okay, or I hope my client doesn't figure out I'm not an expert at this after all, and having that confident assurance within you saying, I know what I'm doing is safe and effective, and I have the skills and awareness to give my client a well-rounded session addressing her specific needs that will leave her feeling energized and confident. And then being okay with saying, I don't know, let me find out. Okay, there's always going to be something that you haven't heard before, and maybe you don't know right off the bat. So you find out, you go ask, you figure it out. Okay, here's why confidence is important in teaching. So first thing is that under job performance for a Pilates teacher, per the Pilates Method Alliance, it says that teachers are to remain confident, supportive, and positive, show optimism and manage disappointment, and leave personal issues and upsets out of client sessions. Now, I'm the first one to admit, like, once you get to know your client, like, you're telling them everything, right? About like your life. And I've definitely made those mistakes. And I mean, I still do that. Like the clients that I have that are like good friends of mine. This is really what you want to focus on with this is new clients that you don't know, that you're trying to give them the most positive experience. It's kind of like a performance. I mean, that's maybe why you might feel drained at the end of a session, because it's kind of like a performance. The idea though is that when you implement what I'm going to teach you on a daily basis, not only in the studio, but in your life, this just becomes automatic. And then it's not really a performance anymore, because that's just how you are. So when you focus on personal development and grounded confidence within yourself, despite your skills, you have the ability to develop your skills with more certainty and experience less shame when you do make a mistake. So, okay, so this is what confident perinatal Pilates specialists are doing differently. Okay, so once all of these type out, I want you to screenshot this slide if you can. I'll also, any of these that say screenshot this slide, I'll make as separate like images and give you access to them if you don't have that ability to do that. But this is what they're doing differently, okay? They take the method they're learning from and apply their own thinking, ideas, and experience so that it makes sense to them, okay, or to you. So you're taking your own ideas and experience and making them make sense to you so you can effectively teach what you aren't clear on. You ask questions when it doesn't make sense without the fear of being seen as dumb or incompetent. I don't know how many times I've been in a training where they are saying a word over and over again or an acronym that I have no idea what it is, and they never say what it is. And I'm afraid to ask because I'm like, I should know this. But then I realize, like, I guarantee probably half the people in the class probably are thinking the same thing. So perinatal Pilates specialists, confident ones, are teaching from a biopsychosocial perspective, focusing on what their client feels and needs. Okay, so for example, some women are comfortable lying on their back into the third trimester and have no adverse effects. Confident perinatal Pilates specialists know that they are the authority on perinatal Pilates, not OBGYNs. So think of it like this: Pilates teachers know movement, OBGYNs know medicine. Okay. And then number 5 is they stay up to date on the latest research on perinatal exercise and wellness, including studying the pelvic floor and core anatomy from a fascial whole body perspective, rather than the classical single muscle approach that most higher education programs are teaching. Okay, so if you want to screenshot this slide, I need to find my water. I don't know where it went. So look over those for a minute, and I gotta find where my water went. Okay, I can't find my actual glass. Oh, there it is. Okay, so again, that's the do list. Okay, so working from the do list. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how they develop that confidence, and they continue to teach with confidence and competence while making a meaningful contribution to this world. So this is how. IMPACT is an acronym. We call it IMPACTOR, ways of being, and that stands for practicing integrity, self-integrity, most importantly, but obviously integrity with your client. So a study showed that when people adopted, or actually it was an office setting, when people adopted integrity as their number one, what's it called? I got distracted. My daughter was calling me, and I told her, I'm like, please don't call me between 10 and 11:30. She's calling me anyway. So I got distracted. Okay, so 300% integrity. When office workers adopted integrity as their number one way of being, their productivity went up 300%. When we keep our word to ourselves, so when you write in your calendar that you're going to do Pilates that day, and then you don't do it over and over and over again, you are messing with your self-integrity. And little things like that start to eat away at our self-confidence. So we want to make sure that we're practicing self-integrity. And the really important thing is if we're not going to do it, or something comes up that you can't do it, then you don't shame yourself over it. That's the key. But then you want to try to get back on track and keep your word to yourself. It's a game changer. Okay, next one is motivation. You have to have motivation for what you're doing in life. In the Pregnancy Pilates Impact Academy, we talk about goals and what your exact motivation is. Because if you're just going through the motions of teaching Pilates, the excitement wanes. And so you have to find that personal motivation of what you're actually doing with your career. You have to have patience, not only patience for your clients, which most of the time people have, it's patience with yourself. So again, if we are our own worst critics, and you want to be really careful with that, because the way that you think about yourself and treat yourself is always going to reflect onto other people. So if we tend to judge ourselves negatively, we're probably judging other people negatively. And it's like most of the population does that, because we are wired to look at the negative. So we have to practice these ways of being, patience, one of them, to be able to adopt a more positive mindset and get away from the default, which is the negative. Okay, next one in Impactor is having awareness. Okay, you can't change anything. You can't develop new habits without awareness. Okay, and obviously in the studio, being aware of what's happening around your client. For example, what kind of an environment are you teaching in? Are you in a situation where you've got several different teachers working together, teaching privates, let's say, and there's a conversation going on over here, and the conversations tend to be not very positive. And so you've got that awareness going on, that maybe this isn't the best situation. How can I change this? Also, just simple awareness things like what's on the floor. Okay. Many times I've left dumbbells sitting next to the reformer and have had a client almost trip over them. So little things. This can go from your life and what's going on socially to the actual physical environment. All right, courage. This is huge. We have to be able to have the courage to have tough conversations with clients. One very common conversation that has to be had, but a lot of people feel uncomfortable about, is the pelvic floor, talking about incontinence, asking questions about what's going on with their pelvic floor, because so many women have been raised that is the private part and you don't talk about it. And you have no idea how many of my pregnant clients, recently one that was about to have her 5th baby, that had never seen a picture, a model of her pelvic floor. Doctors are not doing this. And so we have to have the courage to get comfortable with doing that. And if it comes really easy to you, you're one of the lucky ones. It took me a few years to really get comfortable with talking about the pelvic floor and the vagina and the uterus and the anus without getting embarrassed. So it has to be one of those things where those are the parts. I mean, the baby comes out of the vagina. Like you have to talk about those parts. So courage is where that comes in. And there's ways of doing that, because again, some women are not going to be comfortable with you even talking about it. So you don't want to just, maybe you do, but maybe you don't want to just jump in and show them this model of the pelvic floor without maybe prepping them. And those are things that we'll talk about later on, how to ease women into that. Okay, trust. So this kind of comes back to integrity, of self-integrity. You want to be able to trust yourself, okay? Trust your word, but also trusting what you're doing, okay? What you're teaching. And if you don't trust it, then you want to ask why. Why am I not trusting what I'm teaching? Am I just regurgitating information that I've heard and I don't really trust it? Like what I used to do when teaching anatomy, okay? You've probably are in the majority that was taught or given the anatomy book of muscles, where you turn and it's the shoulder and one is the thigh, and that never made sense to me. But I was teaching it because that's what I thought I was supposed to do, but I wasn't trusting it. And so that came out as insecurity. I mean, that's in being insecure in what you're teaching. So that is where trust comes in. And then also, obviously, your clients developing trust in you. Okay, empathy. So again, empathy with yourself, empathy with your clients, and then resilience. So this is also a big one. When something goes wrong, okay, if you've been teaching I've been teaching 21 years now, okay? Lots of things have gone wrong. And I've had to build up the resilience that, okay, so that happened. Nobody died. Now I can move on and and learn from that and get better. One situation was I had a woman, and these are all things we learn from. It was actually a woman, she was like in her 60s, who I had her fill out the regular form that my trainer or my mentor had given me that she used. Okay. There wasn't a lot on it. And it wasn't very specific. So there wasn't the question, do you have osteoporosis? Okay. So what ends up happening is she did have osteoporosis. She didn't put it in the general question of, are there any issues? I'm not sure any diagnosis that you have. She didn't put that down. I gave her 2-pound weights on a foam roller, laying the long way on a foam roller, and had her do very easy arm circles. And she broke a rib. Okay. So obviously, now here's the thing. It didn't happen in class. It happened in class, but it didn't, she didn't know. She didn't know. So what she did though, is she kind of felt, if I remember correctly, she just kind of felt like, oh, that was weird. And so then we move on to something else if something feels weird. Well, then she saw that it was broken and realized that's what happened. And obviously I'm completely devastated. I ended up writing an article about it and trying to educate everybody on how to make sure that your clients, what's going on with your clients. There's so many little things, right? So if I would have let that stop me, okay, I wouldn't be here. Pregnancy specific. I have not had this situation yet. I have had other students that have had this situation where a client miscarries, okay? I have not in class. I do have a colleague who had a client miscarry in class, okay? That's super scary, okay? And despite the fact that there is no evidence, which you'll see later, that exercise does not cause miscarriage, okay? 25%, it's like 20 to 25% of pregnancies will end in the first trimester. And it's because of abnormalities in the chromosomes, things like that, okay? It doesn't happen because of exercise. You have to have resilience if you're going to experience something scary like that. So that is an example. Those are the impact or ways of being. Super important, okay? This is vital because the reason we're even here today at this point where teachers are still lacking confidence from teaching, it has been my mission over the last 7-8 years now to figure out why don't teachers have confidence in teaching. And this has become the foundation of what you need to work on as a person and as a teacher to start to develop that confidence. So that's why this is important. And now we're going to look at the 3 elements of a confident teacher, which is confidence, competence, and then making a contribution. So this is your potential, okay? I said, remember I talked about that, the ripple effect earlier. This is your potential as a perinatal Pilates specialist using the 3 elements. So we start with confidence in self, okay? That is the things we just talked about. We'll go into it a little bit deeper of what that looks like. Competence in your skills, obviously you have to know what you're doing. And then something that a lot of people don't talk about, and I think is the game changer in your motivation for teaching, is what is your contribution to society, okay? So this is what it looks like. Here, you've got your confident, competent Pilates teacher. You have your perinatal client, maybe their spouse. They have a baby that grows up to be a big person. And the effect that confident, uplifted mom was able to give to her spouse, to her baby, it radiates to all the people that not only she comes in contact with, but her children, her spouse, all the people she affects. That is the potential impact that you have. Just one person. I always say, be that weird person that like picks up the piece of trash when you're walking down the street and throw it away. Like, you've got to be different, because most people are not like that. I'm noticing, at least in Las Vegas where I live. And so you have to be different to encourage your clients to be that different kind of person that's going to make a positive contribution to this world. So that is the impact that you have. All right. Next is specifics. Okay, we'll go through this real quick. Because I'll give you a handout on this. Confidence in self is personal power, your personal energy, growth mindset, the ability to allow, which we talked about, navigating thoughts and feelings. And this can fall under the impactor integrity, patience, and trust. Competence in your skills is knowing the exercises, creating variations, solving problems, educating clients, understanding and teaching anatomy. And this can come under practice, which is an extra P in there, motivation and awareness of the impactor. And then your contribution to society is sharing your knowledge, either volunteer and paid. This is marketing, okay? If you are uncomfortable with marketing, I just want you to replace marketing with I'm making a contribution. Because if you have to look at it like this, if you have a skill and you're keeping it a secret, then you are being selfish in those skills. So all marketing is getting out to the world that you have this life-changing method that is going to help people feel their best. It's your contribution to society. So we'll get into, I think on day 3, a little bit more on that topic. Navigating through tough conversations is another one. moving past rejection and embarrassment. So if somebody says no, I had a situation where with a student who said that she had a mom, she was teaching a class, she was teaching a pre and postnatal class, and she had a mom, quote, call her out, I guess she was having everybody do bridging and laying on the back. And a mom called her out and said, oh, well, I heard that you can't lay on your back after the first trimester. So everybody don't do that. Okay. Can you imagine? Like, that is devastating for someone who does not have self-confidence to be polite, but also set that woman straight that, I understand that is what the majority has said. However, if you are uncomfortable on your back, you are welcome to try standing up and rolling down. If you are comfortable on your back, it's perfectly safe, and leave it at that. Rather than getting defensive, which is what a lot of teachers might do if they're not confident, or they might just go ahead and say, okay, yeah, don't do that because I don't know what else to do. So anyway, that's where courage comes from, empathy, resilience, an example of that. Okay, so let me go. I'm actually going to go forward here a bit. All right, so really quick, I want to let you know who I am, so you know who you're learning from. My name is Alison Marsh. If you don't know who I am, while you're looking at this, think about your lineage, because every place that you've been and every place that your mentors have been affects you as a teacher. And Ron Fletcher, who brought Pilates to the West Coast, he was a student of Joseph Pilates, was Elizabeth Larkham was my mentor, Dolly Calipez's teacher. So Dolly Calipez brought Pilates to Las Vegas in the 80s. She was the very first studio. It was a tiny room, and she, for several years in the 90s, she had a few studios around town. Now she solely works at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, where she has she's teaching a minor in Pilates. You can actually get a minor degree in the Pilates method. Dolly was taught by Elizabeth Larkham, who is the author of Fascia in Motion. And then there I am. And I was certified in 2022. I mean, in 2002. Certified in 2002. And here's a little bit of my background. I have a bachelor's in dance education. I was an acro dancer for Folies Bergère here in town. I also have a bachelor's in social work. I owned a boutique studio from 2007 to 2019, where I taught all populations. I had a focus on posture at that time, and I started to work solely with pre and postnatal women towards the end of that time there. I now teach exclusively out of my home and primarily online. I take like all of my, I'm in my upstairs office right now. All of my equipment is downstairs, and we may do a little bit with the equipment on the next one. Okay, so 2012, I was asked to create a pregnancy Pilates teacher training for my mentor, Dolly. So I did that in 2012. 2015, I branched off on my own to do Your Pregnant Core. That's me teaching at 35 weeks pregnant. And then 2019, I started Pregnancy Pilates Impact, which now looks like that. And I've welcomed over 100 Pilates teachers into the academy. with perinatal Pilates specialists, what we call impactors around the world. A few star students, Salma in Kuwait, who is a former medical doctor and quit her practice to become a perinatal Pilates specialist. We have Katie in Texas, who teaches specialty workshops to postpartum women now. We have Tracy in Las Vegas here in town. She actually was in one of my first in-person trainings, which I actually don't do those anymore. Everything I do is online because I feel like the online, I would love to do like a workshop in person again. But as far as learning pre and postnatal, becoming confident and competent in doing so, it's not going to work with like a weekend training. And that's, I'm sure, what you may be used to is going through a quote certification in 2 and 3 days, and then you wonder why you're not confident in what you're doing. So Tracy just sent me this email recently that she had taught her first pre and postnatal workshop, and she said that she has the confidence to do so. Okay, and this is my family. So I don't know, a little story if you're into praying and blessings and all of that. This little one in the front here, the little boy, basically in 2014, I still was not pregnant. So I had yet to be pregnant, but I was teaching the pre and postnatal trainings because that's what my mentor had asked me to do. And she knew I was educating myself on pre and postnatal because we had been trying to get pregnant for 8 years. So I knew everything. I just hadn't had the experience yet. And so 2014, I was getting discouraged because I really wanted to have my own child. In the meantime, these two on the right, Madison and Daniel, are adopted through the foster care system, which is where I worked as a social worker for a while. And then these two, Kirsten, the one on the bottom here on the left, was not able to actually make it into our family picture. So that's her and her goat. And then her sister's on top. My husband's there. That's his 2 children from his first marriage. 2014, I was going to give all of this up because I wasn't getting pregnant. And I really felt like I needed to have my own experience to be able to genuinely teach this to other teachers. If you've never had a child and you're teaching other women, I mean, all you have to do to counter that is think of male OBGYNs. Like you don't have to have had a baby to be able to teach this. But me as an educator felt like that's what I needed. So October 2014, I wrote down a prayer because that's what I do with my prayers in my journal. I said, I want to be pregnant. God, if you want me to continue teaching and educating pre and postnatal for other teachers, I want to be pregnant. And I was pregnant the next month after 8 years of infertility. So that's that little guy there. He's 8 now. And yeah, so that means that I've been doing this almost 16 years because I was studying it while we were trying to be pregnant. And then now he's really what helped me to throw myself into it. And so when it gets tough and overwhelming, all I have to do is go back to the fact that I feel like I was called to do this. And this is where, coming back to you, where it's so vital that you find your motivation in what you're doing. Okay, so let's actually get into this now that we have 30 minutes left and I have probably 3 hours worth of content. That's okay. That's why I did it in 3 days. So safety of Pilates and exercise during and after pregnancy. So does exercise cause miscarriage? We already kind of talked about this, but just once and for all, no, there's no evidence that exercise causes miscarriage, fetal abnormalities, placental problems, or ectopic pregnancy, okay? This is research from Dr. Clapp, who was one of the only researchers at the time studying pre and postnatal exercise. And what was significant about him is that he researched athletes. So we're talking about like runners and people or women that did kind of hardcore exercise. So he has that credibility there. Okay. And then the ACOG, which is the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecologists, who is what America, the United States, looks to for their pre and postnatal guidelines. Okay. We're going to learn later that there's some holes in the ACOG's ways of guiding women, but when it comes to just overall physical activity, it does not increase the risk of miscarriage, low birth weight, or early delivery. Now, there's one exception: going through IVF, okay, or in vitro fertilization. In the Pregnant Supplies and Backed Academy, we have a lesson all about this. But the short of this is that within the first 20 weeks, movement has to be incredibly limited because the ovaries basically expand. They swell to very big sizes. And what can happen is they're so heavy that any kind of movement, like, I guess, movement that is aggressive, maybe aggressive is not the right word, movement can throw the ovaries. I had a student who this happened to, like, over and twist. So they're like in the pelvis and they can become so heavy that they fall, twist, can cause ectopic pregnancies, things like that. So that's the exception. So if you have a form, you always want to ask that. Make sure that they're past that 20 weeks and obviously that their doctor has given them clearance to go ahead and exercise. All right, so the most common injuries in pregnancy are musculoskeletal, okay? They usually occur during mom's everyday tasks, like reaching over to grab something, accidentally stumbling because their center of gravity is off. Also, the laxity can cause that, or just simply overdoing it. So an example is I used to have, when I worked in my studio, I used to come into the studio with 2 really big bags full of, I don't know what, but like different things, my computer, books. And I remember in my 3rd trimester, actually towards the end of the pregnancy, I started to get really sore when I would do that. And it almost like I could do it, but it really tired me out very easily and I got incredibly sore. That's an example. Also, pushing or pulling anything heavy. I used to have a lot of men clients. Same thing when I was pregnant, 3rd trimester. I would push them, like all of my weight on them, like through the push through bar on the trapeze. And same thing, I remember just being so sore and unable to quickly recover from that. It also takes much longer for injuries to heal. So where maybe it would take a few days for like a strain, sometimes it can take a few weeks. And it's actually this is really the only concern, I guess, when it comes to teaching pre and postnatal, is that the baby is safe. You're not hurting baby. Baby is in a womb, basically water that is like in a water balloon that is covered by tons of very sturdy fascia and muscles, myofascia. So it is the woman that's going to have the issues, and it's usually from overdoing it, okay? So you modify exercises and teach mom how to move through her day to accommodate for the laxity in the joints and ligaments and the center of gravity shift. Those are the main things. Those are the main problems. Now, obviously, there's other issues like placenta previa. You have all those things. Like I mentioned, the Academy has all of that. We have a chapter dedicated to common problems and how Pilates can help. But this is going to be what, if you're going to worry about anything, it's just this. And I'm actually going to give you, we're not going to go over it, but I am going to give you a framework called SAFE, support, awareness, feeling, and exhale, just some basic guidelines for teaching pregnant women that I'm going to put in your, you don't have access to it yet, but after this training, I'm going to set it up for you and give you access. It'll be in a one website page for you, and everything will be there for you. Okay, all the resources I'm talking about. All right, so to offer effective perinatal Pilates services, you want to teach from a biopsychosocial model, knowing that what you are teaching is not only safe and effective, but also designed to make a lasting impact in the lives of your clients. So what is biopsychosocial model? So Pregnancy Pilates Impact way of teaching addresses this. Bio stands for biological. It offers pregnant and postpartum women the feel-good effects of exercise, core conditioning, optimal breathing techniques. These are very general. Definitions. Psycho is psychological, offers women a Pilates teacher who is empathetic to her experience, to the woman's experience, educated in perinatal mood disorders, which we have a whole chapter on that in the Academy, and is aware of the language being used to teach, which we actually talk about a lot, language. And then social is like socialization. So that you're offering the safety of movement in a judgment-free, supportive, uplifting environment. Okay, so you don't want any women, like if you teach a class, please tell your participants that if anybody new ever comes in, that they need to say hello to them and make them feel welcome. It's a game changer. I don't know. I mean, you may have had the experience of going into a class and not being said hi to or anything. And I have. And it's like, it just kind of changes the whole, but again, see, you have to remember, like most people don't do that. Most people are going to ignore the other person. So you have to teach, you have to create a different environment, because it is a game changer with it, if that woman's going to come back or not. And in how she's moving, okay? Because if she feels ignored and judged, because if she's being ignored, then she's probably feeling judged, her movement is going to not be as free as it could if she felt comfortable. All right, so this is a big one. Is mental health within our scope of practice? Suicide is a leading cause of death for mothers within the first year postpartum, okay? So number 3 under scope of practice for Pilates teachers is in the Pilates Method Alliance handbook. It says that you are to coach, provide general information, and direct clients to seek medical attention as necessary. So that includes mental health. I am going to give you what I call the biopsychosocial verbal consultation with the mental health question in it. It's a 1-page consultation that you'll want to do with your client. I'm actually going to give you the, I have a training on it too, like a video training. So I'm going to give you access to that and the video training, so you know how to use this and you can start practicing in using it. You can use it with your regular clients too, but what it has in there is that mental health question, and then you want to give all of your postnatal clients, well, prenatal too, it's called the Edinburgh Depression Scale, which is a self-test. So you are giving it to moms to test themselves with resources of who she can reach out to if the test comes out that she's got some depression going on or anxiety. So our job is not to obviously counsel, it's to provide information and direct clients as necessary, and that's what you're doing. So I encourage you to start to learn in your area counselors that are educated in perinatal or postpartum mood disorders. Okay, because they're two different things. There's a lot more of them now today than there used to be. But that way you've got somebody that you can send them to, maybe reach out to them, send them an email or something, tell them you want to use them as a resource. This is the kind of stuff that's going to put you above other teachers, because other teachers don't do this. Other people don't do this. So very important, obviously, if suicide is the leading cause of death for mothers within the first year postpartum. It's not being addressed. So we want to make sure to address it. This is what it looks like. Other reasons you want to do this: it builds trust and rapport. It helps your perinatal clients be seen. So women are starving for acknowledgement. The way that you do this is why it's called a verbal assessment. You're not going to give this to your client to fill out while you're cleaning the equipment. The first time you meet with a client, you want to allocate. I like doing an hour and a half. I have a longer form. I like this form for like mat classes. I mean, and it works for if you're going to do privates. But I have a longer form that's in the academy. But this one addresses at least the very necessary things you need to know. You're going to sit with your client next to them rather than in front of them. And you're going to ask them these questions, and you're writing it down, because the mom is going to have an opportunity to maybe talk for the first time with someone that's actually going to take the time and listen to them. Okay. Doctors, as you know, don't do that. Like, they might start to tell them something, but it's usually a 10-minute visit, if that. So you're going to carve out that time to sit and ask them these questions. It builds instant trust and rapport in that 30 minutes. And then you've got yourself a client for life. Plus, you know what they need. Okay. So, so it gives you a well-rounded understanding of all the factors. All right. So I'm going to give you a copy and access to the training video. So the need for competent teachers to share the truth. So the following is from a very popular insurance company, giving advice to pregnant clients. And you'll notice that the quote bounce back culture is normalized in this text. So it says that light or moderate exercise can help you prepare for the physical demands of pregnancy and childbirth. Great. It can also relieve stress. Yes. Here's where we have a problem. And return you to your pre-pregnancy shape after childbirth. Okay. So normalizing, again, return you to your pre-pregnancy shape. You're going to learn better language in just a moment, but we want to avoid returning to pre-pregnancy shape, because that actually doesn't really happen for most women. Post-delivery recovery. Okay. So how long will it take? This is funny to me. You may have heard that 6 weeks is a standard post-delivery recovery time. Well, this is true for some women, which you'll learn where that comes from and why that's like a popular thing, 6 weeks. But it's actually not true. It says it might take you longer, maybe up to about 6 months. Okay. Now that is more realistic, but as you'll see, there's a lot more going on to feel physically and mentally like yourself. So again, it's all about having accurate information
and sharing it with women who are inundated with feeling like they need to hurry up and bounce back to their quote pre-pregnancy bodies. Okay, so this is from a postpartum healing search result. This is a screenshot. I searched postpartum healing timeline. This is the first thing that came up. And I think it's probably sponsored. I don't like throwing people under the bus, so I didn't say who it is, but all you have to do is go to Google and type that in and you'll see it. Your postpartum recovery won't be just a few days. Fully recovering from pregnancy and childbirth can take months. Although many women feel mostly recovered by 6 to 8 weeks, it may take longer. Okay. During this time, you may feel as though your body is turned against you. Okay. This is June 5th. Just a few months ago, this was posted. Okay. So again, not true. Okay. They're not going to be mostly recovered by 6 to 8 weeks. We'll talk about why. So bounce back culture is the enemy of perinatal women's well-being. Okay. So you're about to learn the truth and how to help. So the truth about postpartum recovery, it takes 6 months to 2 years. Okay. This is the amount of time it actually takes the postpartum body to, now here's the language shift, return to its more familiar form. Okay. So to return to the body that mom is more familiar with, rather than return to the pre-pregnancy body. Okay. So we want to get mom comfortable with the fact that, not just comfortable, just to look at the miraculous thing that her body just did and revel in that and know that, yes, eventually she will get back to a body that she's more familiar with, not back to the pre-pregnancy body. Okay. So this is just a quick story about my experience. Now, remember, I had my son 8 years ago. Okay. And this, what I'm about to share with you, I didn't know any of this yet. Okay. So I thought I was going to walk out of the hospital in a cute little summer dress, like how I did before I got pregnant. Okay. Like zero education. And I'm the one supposed to be teaching this stuff. Like, this is what is out there. Like, and that is the problem with regurgitating information, just saying the same thing everybody else is saying rather than asking questions about what doesn't seem right. So no, after you have the baby, you're going to look like you're about 7 months pregnant because the uterus is still swollen, and the uterus stays swollen for about 6 weeks. And that is where OBGYNs get their timeline from, is if the uterus is healed and if she had a C-section or had an episiotomy where the vaginal tissue is torn, if that is all stitched up, is 6 to 8 weeks. Also, pre-pregnancy blood pressure levels, those return to at about 3 months postpartum. So that's where doctors are getting this 6 weeks to 3 months. Okay, that's where they're getting at. But that's not all that's happening, and that's what we're gonna learn. Oh, and then not fitting in pre-pregnancy genes at 1 year postpartum. Okay, so 1 year postpartum, because everybody told me you should be back to normal at 6 weeks. And then like 3 months comes around and I'm still not. And then 6 months and I'm still not fitting into my pre-pregnancy genes that, as a Pilates teacher, everybody is telling you should be. You see where the problem's coming, right? Like, with so many women being told this and not fitting that expectation. So 1 year postpartum, I'm pissed. I give all my expensive Lucky Brand jeans that I loved so much. I had like 5 pairs that like fit me perfectly, and I was not getting into them. And So I just gave them all away. And I had a friend tell me, she's like, you don't want to just wait and see? She's like, no. I said, no, if it hasn't happened by now, a year postpartum, it's not going to happen. Well, 2 years postpartum, it really was about that 2-year mark that I did actually, quote, return to the body I was more familiar with. And I was able to fit into that same size. My thing actually was, I actually was happy to gain weight because I was always one of those women that people made fun of me for being too skinny. And it was always hard for me to gain weight. So it wasn't the weight, but it was the clothes, you know, like you have all these really nice clothes that you like to wear. So just a little personal story on that. Okay, so here we go. Just because it's popular doesn't mean it's true. Keep that in your mind, okay? Do you have a copy of this? You should have, I sent out a copy of this to everybody. If you don't have it, I'm gonna send it out again during the 3 days together. We're gonna learn how to use this guide. We'll start that on Thursday. So this is going to help you help your clients understand and buy into the fact that it takes much longer and to develop patience. All right, so why does it take 6 months to 2 years? Let's talk about that. So relaxin, okay, so that's the hormone that loosens up all the ligaments, okay? That stays in the body up to 1 year postpartum, helping in the healing process. Now, this is new. I just found this in some research. By the way, in the Body Patience Guide, I have all the resources in the back. So if you want to go read the research on any of these, it's available there. But relaxin is helping, okay? Before understanding this, we've been so focused on like, when is it going to leave? Like, how long does relaxin stay in the body, and when is it going to leave, so that we can, so that the ligaments aren't so lax, so we can get back to the, you know, regular running routines or whatever it is, if there's any like hardcore workouts going on. And so educating women that the relaxin is helping them heal is a big deal, okay? A few guidelines with this, though, is they say that it's in the body through breastfeeding. So if a mom is breastfeeding, it will be in the body and then eventually leave once she's done breastfeeding. If she is not breastfeeding, it will start to leave the body sooner. Nobody really knows exactly how long, and everybody obviously is going to be different. Everybody's body is different, okay? So that's why, I mean, a year, like, that's a long time, okay? So it can be anywhere from, you know, a few weeks to a year, okay? Then, new fascia science shows that it takes connective tissue 6 months to 2 years to go through a full regeneration. That's for everybody, okay? So if you look at this guide down here, it shows we've got birth relaxin, we've got that the relaxin's in the body. It could be up to a year, and fascial regeneration starts or could take up to about 6 months, but could go up to a full 2 years. Again, everybody's different. So, as you're going to see in the Body Patience Guide, women are having problems 2+ years down the road, ending up with prolapse, incontinence, diastasis recti, because they were not given the correct information that what's actually going on with their body in this healing time. And so during this 2 years, this crucial 2 years, they're being told they should be back to normal by 6 weeks to 3 months. Well, they're going to start doing things that are going to disrupt the healing process way too soon and then end up causing problems down the road. Okay, so the number on the scale is a deceptive measurement of health. The history of the BMI is that it was introduced in the early 19th century. This person was a mathematician, not a physician. He produced the formula to give a quick and easy way to measure the degree of obesity of the general population to assist the government in allocating resources. In other words, it's a 200-year-old hack. So now we're going to get into how Western medicine has shaped the bounce back culture. Here's the problem with the BMI calculator. It doesn't take gender into consideration. It's based on a Caucasian standard, Caucasian men, by the way. It doesn't take age into consideration. It doesn't account for body frame or muscle mass. So for example, bodybuilders and football players are considered obese, according to the BMI. Today's standard protocol for determining healthy weight gain during pregnancy and weight loss after pregnancy is the BMI. Most mainstream pregnancy books on the market include the BMI chart. So when a woman does not fit into that standard that's in the chart, it can lead to body image issues, including disordered eating. Okay, highly prevalent. Great book, More Than a Body. If you want to learn more about this type of thing, there's lots of books out there, but this is the one I recommend. It's called More Than a Body. It's written in a very compassionate, non-judgmental way, where there's a lot of them out there that are very like angry authors that are very like shaming, and this one is non-shaming. We don't ever want to shame anybody, any industry or anything. Like they only know what they know, right? And their own, it's just like doctors, like OBGYNs, like they only know what they know. So anyway, More Than a Body. So again, just because it's popular doesn't mean it's true. So we're at the 11:30 point. I'm like, not, well, I guess I'm about halfway done. Let me just show you one more thing that you can walk away with. Yeah, so let's just finish with this, okay? So you are now armed with the knowledge, okay, that there is no pressure to bounce back. So 6 months to 2 years to return to the body that your clients are more familiar with, okay? So this is your turn. I'm gonna do this after every session in the academy. I do this after almost every single lesson, because the only way, this is another big how to increase your confidence in teaching, is practice. You have to practice, you have to implement it. That's why I love doing these trainings, not like 1, 2, 3 days in a row. I like to give you time to actually implement. And that's also how the academy is structured, is you do a lesson, you go apply it. You do another lesson, you go apply it. If you're not applying it, I mean, like, you can't learn to swim by reading a book about swimming. Like, that's, you have to teach. And whoever you're teaching doesn't have to be pre or postnatal for you to practice with. So I want you to think of one person who will benefit from knowing this truth, okay? And within the next 24 hours, share that information with them, whether you just send them a quick text. I'll give you the Body Patience Guide, which is actually meant to give to clients so they can learn more about that. But start to take a poll, start to ask women that have kids that are, you know, even adults, but kids, they're, you know, 7, 8 years old. Ask them, how long do you feel like it really took you till you, quote, got back to normal? And you'll start to realize the validity of this. So that's going to end today. thank you for being here live for the time that even with your friend here, Dorianne. I appreciate that. And if you're watching the replay, thank you. So is there any questions before we go, Dorianne, since you're here live, that I can answer for you, or anything you want clarity on?
I honestly wish I read the body patience ebook before I did, so I could maybe have more questions.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. So
but
go ahead and
yeah, I'm gonna do it, and probably on Thursday I will have more questions about what's gonna be next.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. And then feel free, you can always message me on Instagram. That's a pretty quick way of getting to me. Are you follow? That's the URL is at pregnancy.pilates.impact.
Yes, I follow.
Okay, so
Already.
yeah, so if you need to, if like something pops up in your head and you just want to ask real quick, just message me real quick. And oh, thank you, Laura. Thank you. Yeah, watch the replay in the beginning. Yeah, so today was really a lot of introduction. I mean, we got into a little bit of what we're going to do. I mean, I actually didn't have time to share a lot of, I didn't think I was going to. I'll do it Thursday. But I'm just really excited about being able to share the rest of this Thursday. We're going to get deeper into where the fear comes from. Like why so many teachers are afraid of teaching this population. And it has a lot to do with the way that Western medicine approaches pre and postnatal, and then how to get over that. So thank you so much. Go tell one person about the 6 months to 2 years, and free them from any shame that they are walking around with, because they are not, or if they're giving away their genes at 1 year postpartum, tell them to wait. Tell them to wait. So thank you so much. Have a great couple days, and I'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're
Awesome.
welcome. My pleasure. See you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye. Okay. You're
Bye.
welcome.